Hello, Recapped Mystery here. Today, I'm going to explain an American science fiction film, Planet of the Apes. Watch out and take care. The film's plot is set in the year 2029. Captain Leo Davidson works as an astronaut on the Oberon is a United States Air Force space station. He and his colleagues are working with apes who have been particularly trained for space flights. At the beginning of the film, we are introduced to one of these chimps, Pericles. He works closely with the captain and does an excellent job. Leo receives a video message from his Earth buddies, but as he watches it, the lights go out and the technological devices begin to malfunction. The animals on board become terrified as the lights flicker. Leo is summoned to the bridge to discuss the malfunction. He is then notified of an imminent electromagnetic storm on the space station. The typical practice is to send an ape to obtain preliminary radiation and gamma-ray readings to ensure that the storm is safe for a human astronaut to approach. Leo's boss requests that he prepare Pericles for the trip. Leo retaliates, claiming that it is his responsibility as captain to submit the early measurements, but everyone else instructs him to stick to the established process. He then gets Pericles ready for the expedition. The creature is sitting in a small pod that he is piloting to the storm. Only a few minutes after takeoff, the scientists detect that the pod has veered off course and that Pericles' pulse rate is increasing. They eventually lose track of the pod and pronounce it to be lost. Despite his superiors' requests, Leo gets into a pod and launches into space to retrieve the monkey. He sees the pod Pericles is in, but before he can report it, his pod collides with a big foreign object. He loses all signals from the space station after the impact. He collides with another brilliant wormhole. The capsule malfunctions and crashes into the surface of a planet that resembles Earth. Leo crashes into a body of water and somehow survives. He travels around the woodland, exploring it. The first person he meets is a man who appears to be a forest native. The man and a group behind him are fleeing from wild monkeys that are pursuing them. Leo begins to run alongside them without much thought. The apes appear to be more advanced than humans and wear armor for protection. They kidnap the majority of the gang while the survivors flee. They are all enslaved and hauled away in a human-run carriage, including Leo. They arrive at a civilization of humanoid apes in which humans are utilized for household tasks and amusement, and the apes rule the culture. The ape children hurl stones at the captured humans, calling them filthy. Ari, a female ape who supports human rights and opposes how they are treated in civilization, is presented to us. She chastises the children and instructs them to respect all living things. After that, the slaves are sold to a merchant. After they are placed in cages, a small ape youngster purchases a human female to keep as a pet. Adults are dragged out and branded with a hot iron stick. Ari steps in and encourages the dealer to be gentler with humans because they, too, have rights. Leo takes advantage of the situation by grabbing the iron rod and holding her captive. He begs her to assist him in leaving this place. Dina, a human girl, also tries to flee but is apprehended by the dealer. He claims he will have to put both Leo and Dina down. Ari begs the dealer to sell them to her in order to spare their lives. The dealer is initially hesitant, but eventually accepts. Ari's father is a well-known senator who is upset that Ari has taken two wild humans into his home. He urges her to keep them under check because he is expecting guests soon. General Thade, a vicious chimp military commander seeking control of the ape civilization, is one of the guests. When Leo and Dina are alone in the kitchen, he asks her how the monkeys become stronger than humans. Dina believes they've always been this way. Leo is then escorted outside to serve the guests. While the visitors are conversing, Leo overhears Thade declare that humans outweigh apes by a wide margin. Ari advocates for equality between humans and apes, while Thade says that her beliefs endanger the apes' survival. Thade forcibly opens his mouth and mocks Leo as he comes to serve the meal. Ari walks away from the table, and Thade follows her. It turns out that he has been begging her to marry him for quite some time, but she refuses due to his cold soul. Leo and Dina are trapped inside a cage with the house slaves after dinner. Leo manages to open the cage at night and flee with Dina and the other humans. Dina avows that she will not flee without her family, who is still imprisoned at the dealership. They rush to the dealership and liberate her father and the other human slaves. Following that, the group proceeds to the forest. The soldiers are soon ordered to search for the escaping detainees. General Thade and his junior, Colonel Adder, march ape troops to hunt down the humans. While attempting to flee, the party encounters Ari, who offers to assist them at Leo's request. Colonel Adder approaches them before they can escape through a tunnel. Dina's father, who is already badly hurt, runs to battle and distract the ape. He gives his life in the conflict, but because of him, the others flee unharmed. Leo drives them to the lake where he had landed. We learn that apes are afraid of water since they cannot swim. Leo and Dina swim into the lake in order to collect a bag from the fallen pod. It has a cannon and a beacon, which Leo uses to communicate with the space station. He receives information indicating that the space station is already in the atmosphere, most likely looking for him. The dealer Limbo then attacks them and attempts to kidnap one of the humans. Leo threatens him with the gun and holds him hostage, claiming that if he is released, he would bring the others to the group. Following that, they continue to follow the beacon's signal in order to assist Leo in returning home. Meanwhile, Thade returns to town and petitions the senator for absolute power to exterminate the humans. He intends to seize the moment to consolidate his authority and finally conquer the world of apes. The senator believes his daughter was kidnapped by humans, so he does as Thade advises and gives him unlimited control. Thade's father becomes gravely ill, and he is summoned to see him. General Krull takes his place and goes to stop the humans. Thade's father is the only one in whom he has faith and respect. The elderly ape knows something the younger generation does not. Thade inquires about the source of his father's expertise. The father ape then tells him about the Semos, the first of their kind. Prior to the arrival of Semos, the apes were slaves to the humans who governed the society. Thade believes it is impossible, but his father continues to explain. He displays a hidden ancient gun and claims that people have a stronger power of creation and technology than their strength. The old ape begs his son not to let humans to reach the Kalima. The secret of their original origin is kept in the holy temple of Semos. If humans discover out, they will react by destroying the ape's world. Meanwhile, the escapees make their way to Camila, where Leo believes his crew is waiting for him. When they go closer, they notice scarecrows built to keep apes and humans away from the holy temple. They eventually arrive at a roadblock where ape camps have been established to defend the path to the temple. General Krull also comes and assumes command of the troops. When the sun goes down, Leo uses his gun to create a distraction and rides his horses to the camp. He and the party manage to set fire to the camp and cross the river, which is the only thing standing between them and the Temple of Semos. Thade arrives to the camp later and is enraged at the troops for failing to stop the humans. He gathers everyone and sets out to find the enemies on the other side of the mountain. The escapees, on the other hand, rest for the night before making their way to the Semos temple the next day. Leo is taken aback when he realizes the temple is actually the space station Oberon, which he left only a few days before. Ari thinks it is impossible because the temple has stood for thousands of years. Because the station is fueled by nuclear energy, Leo may acquire visual logs to determine what happened to his spacecraft. Then he realizes that when he entered the wormhole, he leaped through time and arrived in the year 5021. Oberon remained in the year 2029 and searched for him. They never found him, and the station eventually plummeted to the planet's surface in 2029. The monkeys aboard the Oberon went insane and began attacking the crew members. However, one of the apes named Semos eventually halted them and led the way. The apes eventually took control, and the individuals Leo is currently with are the offspring of his fellow crew members. He now has no method of returning home. Several humans encircle him as he steps out of the Oberon ruins. They've heard about the heroic human and want to assist him in his fight against the apes. But Leo understands that they would not be able to triumph against the thousands of apes on their tail. He begs them to flee, but they remain firm in their decisions. Then he comes up with an idea. He intends to use the Oberon's nuclear fuel to launch a final blast at the apes when they arrive. He forces all of the humans to shelter behind the spaceship and uses the escapees as bait to lure the apes in. When the first wave of apes approaches, the nuclear blast sends them flying. However, Thade and the army's second batch attack them soon after. They begin to overwhelm the humans with their strength. Leo and Thade engage in a heated struggle until they witness a familiar ship land from the skies. It also contains Pericles, who was also lost in the wormhole. It turns out that the electromagnetic storm actually releases people in the opposite direction of their arrival, which explains why Pericles came a few days after Leo. The apes then bow, seeing his entrance as the return of Samos, and human-ape hostility abruptly ceases. Ignoring everyone, Pericles runs into the Oberon's remnants, and Leo chases him down, followed by General Thade. Thade wishes to kill Pericles in order to gain ultimate power, but Leo intervenes. The two have a fight. During the scuffle, Leo's gun falls inside the pilot's deck. Thade runs inside to get it but becomes stuck as Leo closes the automatic door. The infuriated ape fires the gun against the door repeatedly, but the ricochets create sparks that startle him. He retreats beneath the control panel, acknowledging defeat. Leo decides to return to Earth and hands over Pericles to Ari, who vows to look after him. He tells everyone that humans and apes are supposed to live in peace and harmony, and that this has always been Samos' wish. After bidding goodbye to Ari and Dina, Leo boards Pericles' intact pod and travels back in time via the same electromagnetic storm, eventually landing in Washington, D.C. on Earth. He glances up to see what appears to be the Lincoln Memorial, only to discover that it is actually a memorial to General Thade. A swarm of ape-like police officers, firefighters, and news reporters descend on him. To explain the finale, we can suppose that Leo has entered the future as a result of the electromagnetic storm. Thade most likely managed to break free from the previous planet following Leo's departure and arrived to Earth via the same electromagnetic storm. He was then released thousands of years before Leo's arrival on Earth. Because the ape was expelled from his planet, he was able to control the world and overthrow humanity. And suddenly everyone on the planet is an ape. The end. Please subscribe to assist the channel, turn on notification and leave a like. Thank you for taking the time to watch. See you again soon.